Ever wondered why the emotional support you once felt seemed to vanish without a trace? Let's talk about the emotional support mirage. This is a common trick used by narcissistic men, creating an illusion of empathy and understanding. They appear to be there for you, offering a shoulder to lean on in times of distress. But when it comes to the crunch, when you really need them, their support seems to evaporate into thin air. Consider the story of Jane, a woman who believed she had found a loving, supportive partner. As time went by, she began to realize that her partner's empathy was conditional, often disappearing when she was in most need. This created a cycle of emotional distress for Jane, leaving her feeling alone and unsupported. So, what's the reality? Narcissistic individuals are masters of illusion, experts at creating a facade of emotional support. In the end, the emotional support promise turns out to be nothing more than a mirage. Do you ever feel like you're on a roller coaster of commitment levels, never knowing where the next turn will take you? This is a common experience when you're in a relationship with a narcissistic man. Consider the story of Jane. One moment, her partner was promising her the world, making grand plans about their future together. The next, he was distant, detached, and uninterested. Jane found herself in a constant state of flux, never knowing where she stood in her relationship. This inconsistent dedication is a hallmark of narcissistic men. Their commitment wavers, often in tune with their own needs and whims, leaving their partners in a state of constant uncertainty. One day, they might be the most attentive and loving partner, and the next, they may act as if the relationship is a mere afterthought. This roller coaster of emotions isn't just exhausting, it's destabilizing. The unpredictability of commitment becomes a stressful norm, leaving you in a perpetual state of uncertainty. Have you ever felt the sting of a promise broken one too many times? Picture this. Alice, a woman of strength and grace, finds herself in a relationship with a man who seems to have all the right words. He promises the moon and the stars, but when it comes down to it, his actions never align with his words. He promises to be there for her, to support her dreams, to share in the burdens and joys of life. Yet each promise falls flat, like a coin tossed into a bottomless well. This is a hallmark of narcissistic behavior. The grandiose promises are often nothing more than an attempt to maintain control and feed their ego. Over time, the trust Alice had for her partner dwindles, replaced by a gnawing uncertainty. This is the reality of a relationship with a narcissist. The cycle of broken promises becomes a pattern, eroding trust and stability within the relationship. Do you find yourself navigating the fallout of situations alone, while your partner seems to avoid any accountability? This is a common experience when dealing with a narcissistic individual. Let's take an anonymized case study. Imagine a scenario where Jane's partner John makes a costly mistake on their joint taxes. Instead of owning up to his error, John blames Jane for not double-checking his work. In another instance, John forgets to pick up their child from school. When confronted, he simply shrugs it off, saying he was too busy with work. He doesn't apologize or show any remorse for his oversight. These are classic examples of selective accountability, a common trait in narcissistic men. They shift the blame, evade responsibility, and deny their role in problematic situations. They leave the burden of the fallout on the shoulders of their partners, creating a dynamic where one person is left to carry the weight. The lack of accountability leaves you to handle the consequences alone, fostering a sense of isolation. Ever feel like your concerns are sidelined, or noticed an unpredictability in financial support? Narcissistic men often display a unique communication pattern, one that's self-centered and dismisses the needs of others. It's like conversing with a wall, where your words bounce back without any real comprehension or empathy. This leads to an emotional divide, a sense of being unheard, and unfortunately, a feeling of neglect. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room: unstable financial support. Narcissists can be unpredictable, and this extends to their financial commitments too. One day, they're splurging on luxuries. The next, they're shrugging off shared responsibilities. It's a roller coaster of inconsistency, leaving you unsure and potentially burdened. In essence, these behaviors, the self-centered communication and unstable financial support, create a tumultuous environment. It's like trying to build a house on shifting sands. The self-centered communication and unstable financial support contribute to a sense of instability and neglect.